folks and friends, and welcome back to the factory. Today we are making Princess Saturn from my Sailor Moon doll series. For this beauty, I chose a Monster High Twyla doll mainly because of her face sculpt and the little sister body type she has. I've rerooted her with 100% acrylic yarn. After setting it from the inside of the head with regular old Elmer glue, I went on to process the yarn into hair. I am using an older brush of mine that I keep on me for that, and I brushed it until fluffy, and then I flat ironed it. The result is usually super silky and shiny, and I feel like sometimes the more you brush it and flat iron it, the better it gets. But you do risk of breaking a lot if you go overboard with the brushing. It's a delicate process. Of course, you will end up with a lot of yarn fluff, and sometimes even pull a bit too much on the plugs, but it's alright. If you think there's not enough hair, you can add some. I was pretty happy with the results here, so I kept it at that. I was really excited to work on Twyla for the first time, but I was equally a little sad since it was my only doll of that character. I would have loved to keep her purple skin, but this won't suit this project, sadly. Now's the time for the head burrito. I pin a protective layer of cloth carefully around the hairline to shield the hair from all the products we'll be using on her face. Now we can enter the face-up phase, which is my favorite part of doll customization. Prior to this, the face was prepped. I painted a new skin tone using some watered-down acrylic paint, and then I primed it with a layer or two of Mr. Super Clear Sealant. After sketching her features, I start the face by applying shadows and basically contouring her features. I use soft pastels and makeup brushes for this. All the materials that I use are listed in the description box below. For Saturn, I am going for a soft, slightly childlike face because she is very young. She's more of a teen than a kid, but I'm sure you get my meaning, she's a bit in between. For that, I wanted to give her large eyes, and I blushed the bridge of her nose too. I also like when my blushing kind of blends in with the eye contour, and a bit around the temples too. I think it's very cute and doll-like. As for the lips, I am going for a pinkish purple. I then decided to add a soft, smoky effect around the eyes, and for that, throughout the project, I used pink, magenta, purple and a hint of blue. I used soft pastels to also shape and carve the base shape of the eyebrows. All my Sailor Moon dolls have a sad or melancholic feel about their expression, so I went with something similar. I am using a handy kneading eraser to remove any extra powder. I also use my pastel pencil to brighten up under the eyes and to gradually bring highlights and whites. So, I like my eyes with multiple shades inside of the irises. So for Saturn here, I use a base of pink and then I added a gradient using purple and then blue for the darkest part. It's not extremely saturated at this stage, but face-ups are done in layers and the pigments will build up over time. So yes, she's going to get there on time, trust this NB. Actually, looking at it now, she does look a little scary, right? Doesn't she? I really was not sure where to go with her at this stage, and I know I tend to sound confident in my videos, but I really was not feeling it that day. When these things happen though, I usually keep pushing, because sometimes it only all go together until some steps are done. I was committed to finish her, but I also knew in the back of my mind that I would start her over if I did not like it at the end. Call me a perfectionist. Spoilers alert, I loved the end result. With Jupiter is the only doll in this collection who did not have her face redone. And that's good, that's really good. I usually draw the waterline with an intense magenta color, but in later layers I give it a little shading while highlighting with a bit of cream pink or just white. As for her lips, a bit more blue was used to kind of give it an ombre effect. And before I forget, I also want to point out that I use a nice brown to define the creases around the eyes, and I also used it to add some shadows to the white of her eyes. Going for a warmer color as opposed to a neutral like grey really adds to both the intensity of the colors and the realism. Okay, my style is not realistic at all, but it's still something I personally like. As I am going along using darker and more unforgiving pigments, I also started adding little hairs in her eyebrows. I always try to keep the black for the end, so when you see it pop, usually it means I'm on my last few layers of MSC. The sealant is used throughout the project, and usually it's when the colors stop building. It gives me a fresh start, save my progress, and give me a good grip for the pigments to adhere. Just make sure if you use it that you are wearing a filtration mask and that you let it dry at least 20 to 30 minutes before adding more color. Here I'm just making sure my details are sharp and that I've built enough contrast. And when I feel like I'm good, I draw the eyelashes. Here I use black directly, but you can definitely sketch them with a lighter color to make sure, and then go over it with black. I finished it with a bit of silvery Pearlix powder. Now, let's enter a new territory. Usually, if you know me, you know I'm going to add paint. I usually go for watered down acrylics and it's normally only black and white, but not today. I recently purchased some really nice watercolor paints in tubes from Arteza and I decided to give them a go on this face. I used black and white, yes, but also a few shades of color to add some texture and definition in the eyes, on the eyebrows, and the lips. I am also waiting on another brand of watercolor paints to try, so maybe in the future you'll see me use more of that. Also, as other artists have pointed out, watercolors are very forgiving. If you've sealed the face well before using them, a bit of water will erase any mistake without damaging the work that you've done before. The brushes I am using for the paints are nail art ones that I bought on Amazon. So if you ever want some, they are really nice and affordable. That little clip was posted on my Instagram just to show how much work I do with the paint. It really changes the face, doesn't it? After I am done painting, I seal her one last time with at least 2 coats of MSC to preserve it, and then I gloss the lips. I do not gloss the eyes, but it's mainly because it makes it harder to photograph my dolls. Though when I send one away, I always ask the receiver if they want me to add some. So here I am liberating her from the head burrito, and I start working on her hair. You don't see me do it on camera, but if I have spots of paint or MSC stuck on the hair, I gently scrape it off with my artist knife. When it comes to cutting yarn hair, I'm quite fond of using eyebrow razors. Though I warn you in advance, I'm pretty terrible at making a perfect even bulb. I'm sorry, Otaru. I still think she looks really cute, but those bangs, of course, they won't stay down. The best trick in these kinds of situations is to use kitchen plastic wrap. You can wet the hair with water, but here, I'm using a bit of hairspray. When you do that though, don't forget to shield the face. After leaving it to dry overnight, it's already better, but I was still not quite happy with it, so this time I used a tiny amount of air gel. Now for the art part, you know the rules and so do I. To make her dress, I drew a simple pattern on paper towels, using a Monster High shirt pattern as a base. I'm a little inspired by her actual canon princess outfit this time. Of course, if you know about pattern making, which I don't, you might already notice that this does not look quite right. I wanted both sides to be open, so I thought it was good enough, but... yeah, well, I should have made a prototype, but I was too excited to try that fabric out, that fabric that I picked out just for this project. I mean, how gorgeous is that purple sheet, right? Right? Well, yeah, she's a younger doll model, but she still has butt cheeks. I can't really leave it like that, can I? So yeah, I guess back to square one. But this time, I was a bit more generous with the back piece. This is not the easiest fabric to work with, and this is not my best garment, but this looks already better. I also had that gorgeous lilac ribbon that I wanted to use for the straps. As for why I left the dress open on both sides, well, that's because I wanted to add some gathered embroidered tulle there, just like on her original dress. The tulle I initially chose was extremely stiff, and I really did not like the way it fell down, so I looked into my stock and picked another one. Quite similar, but with a bit of shimmer. Can you see it? Also, can you see a difference in the video quality? I'm still not really able to upgrade my camera, but I did upgrade my lighting. And it makes a whole lot of difference in my opinion. You'll see it on the pictures at the end too. Anyways, this dress, in my opinion, is coming out super cute. There's a lot I could have done better that I see now in retrospect, but I still like it. Not too long ago, I mean, I could barely hold a needle and do something decent, so I'm quite happy with this. I finished the garment with bows made from the same ribbon I used previously, and then I glued a couple of stones on the straps too. Shoe time! I will be honest, making shoes is the hardest part for me by far, and I don't particularly enjoy it. So for this one, I'll be reusing the shoes the doll came with. I will transform them in something worthy of being worn with an evening gown, so most of the top will have to go. I will be using a sharp artist knife, and please do be careful with these if you have one. Then after that was done, I grabbed the nail file just to smooth things out, because now that part is fully exposed. And of course my camera had to die while I was filming myself gluing those ribbons with super glue in a very messy and clumsy manner, because I have negative 20 points in manual dexterity. Now to make the whole piece cohesive, I painted the soles, well the inside, with some black, and then I varnished them with some gloss. The factory shoes had glossy soles and I liked it and I wanted to keep it like that. Some shiny stones on the shoes because I can, and they're done. Now all my Sailor princesses have gloves, and for Saturn I went different. I wanted those to be very long ones. Of course, I cut them from the same fabric as the dress, and I used some fray check because it's a very delicate one. I also thought it would be best to sew them on the arms directly, because that fabric has no stretch and I doubt that I was going to be able to flip those tiny tubes inside out. So that's how I did them. The ends have been painted to color match the sleeves, to give the illusion of long satin gloves. The really last thing to do is now to make sure her body is going to match her head. I waited after doing the clothes for that to make sure I would not damage the paint job while working on clothes. The first thing I did here was to roughly sand the hard plastic parts of the body to give the acrylic paint a better grip. Then I am cleaning her body with a tissue that has some rubbing alcohol on it. I sometimes use nail polish remover without any acetone in it. You don't want to put acetone on the hard plastic because you can damage it, it will melt. Then I'm using a custom colored of watered down acrylic paints and I start the long process of coating her body with endless coats of the thing. You need to be extra careful too to not leave streaks or bubble. Super boring process, but it pays off, especially if you're like me and do not hone an airbrush. To make the body match the face perfectly, I will also blush it using soft pastels. Pretty much the same way as I do on the head. I'm contouring the natural shapes of the body and I'm just focusing on adding shadows. Then last minute I decided for an hair ornament. I'm not sure if hairband is the right word for that kind, but here, I am shaping it out of warble using my heat gun. Once hot though, the thermoplastic becomes sticky, hence why I protected the head with kitchen plastic film. Once I was happy with it, I painted it black and then decorated it with the same ribbon and after that the same stones. I think we have everything now. A very fun project. I think it's one of my best face-ups, but again, not my best outfit. I can be a little hard on myself, yes, but I guess I just hunger for progress, and you know what? Practice makes perfect. I'm just gonna keep going. Though now, the question is, are you ready to meet Princess Saturn? Okay, now, first off, I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming amount of love my Angel Dust video gathered. I am going to do more Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss characters, and now that's a fact, I'm definitely going there. Of course, I have 3 Sailor Princesses left and the occasional commission, but I'm not about to retire, so I'll keep going to bring you all the amazing content that I can muster. Though, to be honest, I'm really happy that my first very popular doll video was a Prime theme creation. My queer heart is overflowing with glitter and rainbows, and I send you all virtual lugs if you want them. In the meantime, please help feed the algorithm gods, like this video, comment if you want, and consider subscribing. You're helping this French-Canadian person live their dream. But most importantly, please, stay safe.